What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to be talking about my most anticipated fight of 2024, and that's going to be Ilia Topuria versus Alex Volkanovski. That's going down at UFC 298, and I think we may be in for a bit of a surprise. Now, this is a big fight for both guys. I mean, you have Ilia Topuria, who's getting his first chance at UFC Gold, and then you have Alex Volkanovski, who's coming off of the biggest loss of his career, the knockout loss to Islam Makhachev when he went up to lightweight on short notice. And it's really going to be interesting to see how we can bounce back from that. When guys typically get knocked out like that after a long period of time, they tend to not come back as their usual self. So it'll be interesting to see how Volkanovski does look against Ilia. I really don't think he's going to look the same, but I don't think that's really going to be his fault. I think that's going to be more so because of Ilia's doing. Ilia Topuria is a dangerous man. I mean, all you have to do is look at his most recent fights against guys like Josh Emmett and Bryce Mitchell, and he completely dismantled them in different ways. Last time out, he just pieced up Josh Emmett for like 25 minutes, and Emmett really didn't stand a chance. And it's funny because that's usually where Emmett is favored in most of his fights. I mean, he's a power puncher, and he usually tends to get a lot of his victories like that. But against Topuria, he just stood no chance. And I really think Ilia is one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC right now. I mean, he has put on incredible performances in very different ways. He's shown he's good on the ground and on the feet. And I think he's proven that he's going to be a very big test for a guy like Alex Volkanovski, who is coming off one of the biggest losses of his career, like I said. And that changes the complete complexity of the entire fight because this is a big thing. If this was Volkanovski without that knockout and just regular featherweight Volkanovski, who's been on a tear for the past couple of years, I'd probably would favor him in this matchup, and I wouldn't think too hard about it. But now that he's gotten knocked out in that way, not too long ago either, by the way, you have to start raising those questions, and you have to start to wonder if this is the beginning of the end for Volkanovski. And when you have a hungry guy like Ilia Topuria getting a crack at the title, it's very, very dangerous. And Ilia could be the one to be the difference maker and change this point in history in the featherweight division. So let's take a look at the keys to Ilia Topuria winning. First off, he's going to have to keep this one on the feet. I know we've seen in the past that he is good on the ground, but Volkanovski is coming off of a training camp. Well, not really a training camp, but prior training camps, training for a guy like Islam Makhachev, obviously a very, very talented wrestler, and he has looked really good in wrestling exchanges in the Islam fight and against Yair Rodriguez as well. He displayed some of his wrestling and he was dominant, and it's something that he seemed to incorporate into his game now, which could only be a plus. And while Topuria is good on the ground, that's not where I think he would win this fight. He definitely needs to keep it on the feet because Volkanovski, he has learned a lot about wrestling and he's used it in his fights, and he's been able to control fights like that, and you just don't want to be on the bottom with that guy for too long. The second thing I think that he has to do is just stay true to himself. He's a very good striker. He has the speed. He knows how to mix up combinations. He loves feeding to the body a lot. Maybe this time around he should be a little more careful when he does go to the body because Volkanovski's a shorter guy, and he'll probably use opportunities like that to go for takedowns, and Volk, I think, will be going for a lot of takedowns in this fight, so he has to be careful with that. But overall, just stay true to what you know. I mean, Topuria has put on amazing striking performances against a lot of different guys in the UFC, so this time out, of course, it is the champion, so you have to be a little bit more careful, but you still got to stick to your game plan because that's what you know best, and that's your best chance at winning the fight. Lastly, I think he should try and switch to southpaw as much as possible. We've seen in the past that Volkanovski has struggled a bit more with southpaws, like Islam Makhachev, and Topuria also shouldn't be shy, and he should throw some head kicks in this one. I mean, obviously, it's going to be very unlikely that that'll land again, but you got to just let him know it's there, just like Leon did with Kamaru. Just let him know it's there and just make him be alert for that. But I think Topuria will find a lot of success in this one if he does go to southpaw, even though traditionally he is an orthodox fighter, but every guy has southpaw in their toolbox, and if there's a time to pull it out, it's definitely against Volk. Heading into this fight, honestly, I look at Volkanovski a lot like I did with Kamaru Usman. Kamaru, of course, was a dominant champion for many years at welterweight until he fought Leon Edwards for the second time and he got knocked out. No one was expecting that. He was dominating the entire fight, and then just like that, his whole world changed. And it changed his career for the worse. After that, he came back, he fought Leon, lost again, and then he fought Hamzat on short notice, lost that. So clearly, once you get knocked out, something changes. Obviously, Usman was still fighting high level opponents, but those weren't fights before that you would typically expect him to lose. So with Volkanovski here, he's in a similar situation. He just got knocked out, granted by a great fighter, but he still got knocked out. And depending on what happens in these next fights, we'll see where Volkanovski's career is going to go. Honestly, for his sake, I really hope that it doesn't really bug him too much and we just get a good fight out of it. But honestly, what my gut is telling me is that this is not the fight you want to be taking against a guy like Ilia Topuria when you're coming off of a loss like that. I just don't think it's really a recipe for success. As for Ilia Topuria, this is his opportunity here. This right here, he has a big chance to change a lot in his career and in his life. He could become a UFC featherweight champion, a big honor and a big thing for his career. Money's going to get a lot better. He knows what's going to happen if he does get his hands on that UFC gold, and he's already manifesting it. He's got it in his Instagram bio. Not sure if that's what I would do before the fight, but whatever. To each is their own. And yeah, I think Topuria, if he does win the title, will be big for the UFC. I think you could see a lot more expansion in Europe, and I think we could definitely see a UFC Spain in the future should Topuria win. And overall, if we do see a title change here, I don't think it'll be for the worse. I think Topuria will be active. He is saying a lot of weird stuff in the build-up to this fight, like how he doesn't think he's going to be giving Max, Yair, Brian Ortega any shots at the belt, which, number one, it's not up to him. Number two, who else are you going to fight if you don't give those guys an opportunity? So I think he's just really talking, just really trying to get in the headlines and get in the public eye just to stir things up. And he also has aspirations of moving up. There's also been a bit of a back and forth with him and Sean O'Malley, the bantamweight champion. Should Sean O'Malley win his fight against Cheeto, he may move up and try and become a double champ, and that'll probably be a massive fight. Not a big fan of these double champ stuff after one title defense, but whatever. I don't make the rules. I'm just watching. And yeah, I think Topuria will overall just be a great champion if he does win, but at the same time, I'm not going to be upset if I see Volkanovski defend his title. Another one of my favorite fighters, and he's been so active and so good for so long. I don't know if I'm ready to see his reign end just yet. But yeah, my official prediction for this fight, it's close, but I am actually going to tip Ilia Topuria to get the win here. I think timing is everything in this sport, and Topuria is coming along just at the right time when he needs to, and he has an opportunity here to put on a performance against a Volkanovski in probably the weirdest state of his career, and I think he can get the job done. Do I think he's going to knock him out? Yeah, that's a little bit more trickier, but I do think Topuria still can win over 25 minutes. Of course, it always is hard with a guy like Volkanovski because his cardio is so good, but Tupuria's cardio is great too, and Volkanovski I think is going to be a little bit off in that octagon, but who knows? I might be wrong. My official prediction is going to be Ilia Topuria to win via decision. There you guys have it. That's going to be my pick for the UFC 298 main event, Alex Volkanovski versus Ilia Topuria. Honestly, a super tough fight, a super close fight. The bookmakers honestly have this fight really close too, betting-wise, so a lot of people think this is going to be a close fight, and that's what I expect it to be. Honestly, I think it's going to be amazing either way. Whatever guy wins, we're going to be in for a great fight. These are two of some of the most well-rounded guys in the UFC, and they're definitely going to put on a show for us. If you guys enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing to the channel. That always helps me out a ton. And yeah, stay tuned for more UFC 298 content. I'm going to be doing a little bit more of an in-depth breakdown for all the fights on the main card, so be on the lookout for that. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.